Fan Central Pitside, brought to you by Edgechem, AIM Financial Corporation, Texaco, and Connex.
It's Monday, October 14, 2024. This is CVM News at noon. I'm Ramon Gordon. The Westmoreland police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of two men who were shot in White House, Westmoreland on Sunday night. Our news team understands that at approximately 11 p.m., a fisherman identified as 22-year-old Tristan Forrester and another man who has not yet been identified were among patrons at an event when they were approached by two men who opened fire, hitting them multiple times. Lawmen later rushed the men to hospital. Upon arrival, Forrester was pronounced dead, while the other man died soon after. The police are investigating. Still on crime, the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM, has launched an investigation into another fatal police shooting in Hanover, this time in Mount Pelier. The victim has been identified as 20-year-old Deandra Vidal, also known as Chiron, who was shot and killed by the police at his home in Hellgate. According to reports, officers from the Area 1 Fugitive Apprehension Team went to Vidal's residence with a warrant. Upon entry, Vidal allegedly pulled a firearm and pointed it at the officers. He was shot with a 9mm pistol with 5 live rounds and was said to be recovered from the scene. Vidal was later pronounced dead at the Noel Holmes Hospital. This marks the second fatal police shooting in Hanover in just 2 days. Last Thursday, 31-year-old Tariq McDowell was fatally shot by police in Cave Valley during a similar confrontation. Acting Parish Commander for Hanover, Andrew Nish, noted that Montpelier remains one of the most crime-stricken areas in the parish, and the police have increased patrols and school interventions in response to the crime since the beginning of the year. 9 people have been fatally shot in Hanover. Moving on now, a man said to be of unsound mind was fatally shot during an alleged confrontation with the police after he injured a senior citizen in Kingsland in Manchester early Sunday afternoon. The man's identity has not yet been released. Reports are that about 1 p.m. the man attacked the elderly man, forcing him to run to a close gas station. Police were called and on arrival, the man reportedly hurled stones at the police. The lawmen reportedly fired warning shots in attempts to de-escalate the confrontation. However, the man reportedly kept stoning the police and injured one of the lawmen. The police then shot the man. He was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead, while the elderly man and 3 policemen are being treated. A 13-year-old boy has drowned in the Rio Minho in Clarendon. The young man, who is a resident of the area and attended school in St. Catherine, was found floating in the river at about 11:30 Sunday morning. Adrian Williams has that report.
Tragedy struck on Saturday for what should have been a trip to the river for leisure. The Rio Minho in 7th Estate, Clarendon, was the scene of the drowning of a 13-year-old boy who decided to test the murky waters of the river with his friends. One resident had a short encounter with the 6 youngsters just before they went down to the river.
And when it stopped, no one public and around there, so they turn left, I turn right, I do north. It's right and turn. And when I realize, the friend when I yes, well, boy, one come up. No, the rest them come up. And that one, look, don't come up. Don't come up.
Bailey explains that the river's color change is suggestive of danger.
No, daddy, and yesterday when me see them, and them yell, right now you go down there, and say this there. It's red. Red, and that's why I want somebody to carry down to with me.
Sorry, if I say.
How you mean?
Whether fact or fiction, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Territorial Officer for the Clarendon Division, Owen Brown, says this has not been the first incident in the area and is pleading with parents to caution and supervise their children about venturing around or into rivers.
We've had situations like these in the parish, and we want to ask parents to be very careful, warn their sons in particular to stay away from rivers. They are not able to judge the status of the water, how deep it is. So we're asking them to assist the children to stay away unless there is someone responsible who is there to help to guide them in the process.
Adrian Williams for CVM News.
Residents and taxi operators who travel the Mile Gully main road in Manchester have taken their frustration to the streets. The action comes as the operators believe their concerns have been falling on deaf ears. The roadway has been blocked and causing challenges for students and other commuters to go about their daily routines. Principal of the Mile Gully High School, Christopher Times, says 70% of the student population is absent.
Remember the chucking of the bauxite, and the promise that was made that the road would have been repaired. So that has not taken place. So the taxi operators are very upset about it, because the chucking is taking place of the bauxite and the road is deteriorating. So they want to ensure that the road is repaired as promised. So that's why they have withdrawn their service. They might a little part from the one or two vehicles. All the vehicles now are backed up along the road, going back to the hill section. So nothing can really move right now. More than 70% of my children are absent from school. So those who were in Mandeville, I went into Mandeville and I sent them back home with the assistance of the police. Those who managed to make that school, we have them at school. So they have half of my staff at school also. So the half are securing the 230 children who are now at school. And we are keeping there because we don't want to send them out in the confusion on the road now. We have sent out to parents, and parents have been sending vehicles and sending persons to collect one or two students at a time. So we will hold them until we see the situation ideal enough to send them off. We want to maintain their safety and security.
There's progress in clearing the backlog in Jamaica's courts. Chief Justice Brian Sykes says significant improvements have been made in at least half of the country's courts. Speaking at a church service marking the start of Michaelmas term, he credited the success of the recent changes to transformational policies.
The parish courts generally, not every single one, but generally have maintained their backlog-free status for the past 2 years. So what that means is that 95% of the cases in the parish courts are being disposed of in 24 months or less. That is what that means. It also means that cases that are delayed there are not as a result of too many cases being in those courts, but for other factors, which we won't get into this morning. So that is now the new normal of the parish courts. The Court of Appeal has maintained and improved its performance over the last 2 years, and it's on course to do the same this year. That is to say, disposing of more cases than cases coming in, which again tells us that there is improvement in 2 of our major courts.
Stay with us. More CVM News at noon after this.
Us vibing, Jamaican quality for sure. First thing when I wake up, pour up my boat syrup, pure water, me can't get enough. Feeling the love in the air, on the beach with my ginger beer. I'm doing low and cash, still can't go buy one splash. Squash, load, catch up, road. Pure, have you ready for the road?
Pure products, quality for sure.
Jamaica gets ready. Saturday, October 26th, live on the lawns of Huey Mona. It's Boys to Men. Singing your favorite hits. Also performing live, Tess and Chin and Lee Like It. Get your tickets now at caribtix.com, Kingston, Jer, and Fontana. Saturday, October 26, 2024. It's Boys to Men, live on the lawns of Uimona. Starts at 8 p.m. Sponsored by Supreme Ventures, Mayberry, Main Event, Island Grill, and Courtly Hospitality Group.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Welcome back. You're watching CVM News at noon. Now to our discussion segment. The Jamaican journalism landscape has come under increasing fire with accusations of political bias surfacing more frequently. As the country approaches a general election, concerns are growing over the integrity of press and the freedom of the press. To explore these pressing issues, we're joined by journalism lecturer from Northern Caribbean University, Ms. Laurie Henry, and Dennis Hilton, former VP and CEO of the Press Association of Jamaica. Welcome to you both.
Good to be here. Good afternoon. Thanks, man.
Fantastic. Ms. Henry, let's start with you. Just paint the scene for us. We're talking about press freedom, but for our viewers, I wanted to explain the role of the press and the idea of the Fourth Estate.
Okay, the role of the press. We need a free press to maintain a democratic society. The public needs information so it can make informed decisions, right? But the public cannot be everywhere. As a matter of fact, the press can't be either. But it is their stated duty to gather information that is of the public interest and present it so that the public can make informed decisions. Why does it need to make those decisions? You asked me about the Fourth Estate, same press that we're talking about, the same media we're talking about here, but in its capacity as a body that carries out surveillance on the political arena, the government, those who are in power and authority, to make sure that they are doing what they say they will do, that they're doing what they are expected to do, and that they are held accountable for their actions. And so the press is an indispensable part, whatever it is that you think of the press or of how it carries out its functions, it's an indispensable part of maintaining a democracy, a government where the people have a big say in what happens and how it happens.
The press, a crucial part of transparency and accountability. Mr. Hilton, I want to carry you into the conversation. We've seen a trend of political figures, including Mr. Everald Warmington, making very controversial statements about the media. What are the potential consequences of such rhetoric on the media's independence and credibility in Jamaica? Sir Hilton, the question is to you.
Let us, I've practiced journalism since the 80s. Let us not say scapegoat Everald Warmington, as notorious as we have made him, or we say is the assault on the press. The press in Jamaica has been taking place for decades, right? There have been strikes where a party leader, a prime minister, has led a strike against the same Gleaner company that is being assaulted now. So, you know, the opposition party cannot even come to the defense of those journalists who are being targeted now in terms of, you know, the rhetoric, because it has that in its history too, where it felt that the press was, you know, against it. The Gleaner company had to raise capital on the stock exchange in order to shore up its position to be able to stand up to power. All of that is in the history of Jamaica. It does not assault the freedom of the press. That is sensationalism. Journalists know that they, you know, especially those who are in, who have transitioned to ownership of media and the senior management level of media, they know the extent to which media is polarized, to which they have also helped to polarize media and compromise the standards and the safety of the younger practitioners in the field.
Ms.
That's
Henry,
my opening example.
Nice. Ms. Henry, what do you make of Mr. Hilton's assessment there? He's